the street is that this was not that interesting of an opening reunion episode. And honestly, I don't really think that any of these reality TV shows need like 4-part reunions. I think 2 parts is just enough. You know what I mean? Like, there's way too much when you try to drag it out for 4 parts. It's more of a ratings grab than an interesting hour or so. So I'm not really surprised that this episode wasn't that interesting from what I heard. But let's see. Let's get into this review. You know what I find so funny about these reunions is that Andy trying to speak like gay black lingo. It's so hilarious because he looks at Cynthia, he's like, your hair is giving me extra life. I'm like, Andy, just stop, boo, just stop. You are throwing shade, hunty. Kenya still denying plastic surgery. I mean, listen, it's her prerogative, you know what I mean? But Andy is going to get her to admit that she has had work done on one of these reunions, because I'm telling you, he asked every reunion what kind of work that Kenya has done, and Kenya constantly denies, although we have receipts. But it's okay, you know what I mean? Like, if she don't want to fess up to it, oh well. Andy is so messy. I'm telling you, he is the messiest housewife of this entire franchise. He says to all the ladies, I know that black don't crack, but has anybody gotten any work done? And Andy, it don't. We age like fine wine, boo-boo. That's why they hate us. Then we get into the battle of the houses, and watching it the entire season, I was exhausted from it. But seeing it in like these little clips, it was hilarious. Like, Kenya had a lot of little funny one-liners. Sheree had a lot of like, you know, just little sayings and, you know, sounds and movements. So it was really funny, like watching it back in the clips. But throughout the season, I feel like it dragged on way too long, and we were exhausted by it when the show like finally ended. Like, we were just done with the, well, I can't speak for everybody, but I know I was done with the houses, the battle of the houses, pretty soon into the season, because that was all we were talking about. Houses and lesbians. And I wish with all of these women that there was something else going on a little bit more interesting. But seeing it back in the clips, they are really funny. And I've been saying this the whole time I've been reviewing it. I just wish they get back to the comedy, because this season was just so dark. And I know some people disagree. Well, one person. But I stand by what I said. This was the comedic franchise of the Real Housewives, and it just got a little bit too dark for me. And seeing it back in these little clips, I realized how funny they were and why I fell in love with this franchise in the first place. Also, a lot of the ladies own guns, and you know, old Nikki, you know, back in the day, naive Nikki would have been like, oh my goodness, guns, I don't do that violence. You know, I'm at the point where I'm thinking about, you know, getting a little permit and picking up a little heat myself, because this nation is trying to go back to 1910 and I'm not having it. So just in case the Trump supporter want to pop off, I want to be ready. So you know what? I might follow suit of the Real Housewives of Atlanta and pack some heat, at least for the remainder of this election, of this presidency. Oh, and Andy did ask Kenya why at the Chateau Sheree housewarming that Kim come for Kenya, and Kenya was like, cause she needs a check. And you know what? Me and Kenya ain't bosom buddies, but I totally agree. I feel like Kim, you know, I think things are not working out for her on her own show, so she probably needs to come back and get out in the spotlight. I'm not hating. This is a very good opportunity for people, for a certain kind of person. You know what I mean? Like people who are willing to sacrifice, you know, a large part of their soul, no tea, no shade, to advertise what they're doing or to get some type of fame and fortune and notoriety. So listen, I'm not hating on people who do what I just crack jokes about them. Oh gosh, we're still on this freaking battle of the homes, and then we get into the rich Africans. I'm so done with these rich Africans going down to Atlanta, putting up like housewives and funding their lifestyles. I'm so over it. I'm just really, really done at this point. And I'm telling you, if Andy spends like half of the reunion on these homes, I'm going to have to agree with everybody on Twitter that this was a lackluster reunion, because there has to be something more that we can talk about. Because, to be honest, they both were in the shady wrong. But, I mean, it's a reality TV show. That's what you do. You come for other people. Like, Sheree was dead wrong for tearing down Kenya's home. And so Kenya just returned the favor. But it's just getting so petty, and they're spending so much time on it. I wish Andy would just move on. I will say that Portia came ready. Like, Portia has evolved throughout these reunions. She used to be very quiet and timid, and she was basically the new kid that everybody picked on. She is coming ready. She's calling people B. She's true T, and she is like dropping dimes, and she's just a totally different person. I like her standing up for herself. I like her not being the punching bag that I felt she was for several reunions. It's interesting. This is an interesting dynamic, because Candy is very quiet, and Portia is the one that's really piping up, and I'm just like, okay. I'm excited for the other parts. This part, I feel like it's just a starter, and I feel like a lot of this could have been on the cutting room floor. What you want about Phaedra? And I think this is always why I can't get rid of her or throw her out the door like so many other people who watch it. I love how she uses her platform for good. You know what I mean? She really brings a lot of issues affecting the Black community to the forefront, and I feel like she's the only one, in my remembrance, on this show who has done any kind of open philanthropy. I think they all do some form of philanthropy, but I feel like she's the only one who puts it on the national stage and really brings up discussions that I feel are important. And I think that just the dynamic of who she is. Yes, she's messy. Yes, she's freaky, but she's also a lawyer, and she's also a Christian, and partially devout. I'm not really going to go into her beliefs, but I feel like sometimes a lot of things that she does counteracts the Christian persona that she tries to put out. It's just me from watching it. But I also love how she does use this platform for good. You know what I mean? Like, there could be one episode where you're just like, Phaedra is so messy, and then the next episode you're crying, and then the next episode you're cheering her on for the things that she is talking about that affects our community. So I gotta give her props for that. Then Messy Andy brings up the fundraiser that Phaedra did, and who was raising the amount of money. He came at more hair and how it made no money. Andy is so messy. And I don't know, do the women realize that they're being played? Like, do they get it? Because they get so angry at each other. And I'm just like, do you realize that Andy he lit the match and just threw it, and y'all just got angry at everybody else, but not at the person who lit it? And I get it, he's your boss, so you can't really, but I just wish, I don't know. I hope they wisen up and realize what's happening here, because this is the thing. I don't want real relationships to be ruined, and the women not to be able to heal from this. I want them to realize that they're all being played. They're all just like putting a little petri dish, and just like ingredients are thrown in so we can get something entertaining to look at. I really hope they understand what's going on, and maybe that's something we as the viewers will never see, but I really hope they get the game here and what's happening. Also, Candy looks great with dark hair. I really hope she keeps this hair next season. I feel like her with this I think it's like kind of a jet black hair, long jet black hair, looks so good on her. It really brings out her beautiful face. And I feel like the red hair sometimes, because it was a little bit too close to her skin color, that it just washed her out. But this black, I mean, I always thought that Candy was pretty, but she looks gorgeous at this reunion. And speaking of gorgeous, the ladies look amazing. The fashions are top notch. To the haters who was hating on me because I said that the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills look basic, I hope you're watching this reunion. This is how you show up to a Real Housewives reunion. You come with your best garments, your best glam. Ladies of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills did not meet expectations. That was all that I was saying. So take your little raggedy hate somewhere else, because the ladies of Real Housewives of Atlanta showed you how it was done. They all look fabulous. Then we get into the breakup of Phaedra and Kenya, and they always have just such a deep-seated history, and I honestly will stand by the things that I said before in my other reviews. I don't feel like Phaedra ever fully forgave Kenya, and I think Kenya was acting on terms that they had moved past it, but I don't feel like Phaedra fully got over it. And I always felt like although she moved past that situation that happened with her and Apollo, she still harbored some type of resentment, or maybe just put up a block. Because sometimes when you're in an issue with somebody, you may forgive them, but you stay guarded in certain areas concerning that person because you don't want to be hurt again. So it's totally understandable, but I think that was always the issue. Kenya was just acting like they had started anew, and Phaedra was just like, we have not started anew. I've just forgiven you and moved forward, but I still have my guard up. So that's where that whole relationship fell apart. And then they start going back into Apollo and the text messages. And I never knew that Kenya admitted to being wrong for texting Phaedra's husband. Like, I had no idea. Like, had I known that she had admitted that that was wrong and, you know, had some type of reconciliation with that, I probably would have viewed her a bit differently. No, I wouldn't. You can talk about yourself in the Dubai date book, but you can't call me a freako. What is the Dubai date book? Like, what? Say what you want about Phaedra. She knows how to shade, man. She knows how to do it. Get on to the subject of Portia and anger management. Y'all know how I feel about this whole anger management storyline, because if anybody needs anger management, it's Candy. They all have these issues, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody is coming after you, you're going to respond. So I hated how it was this whole anger management storyline, or just this pettiness of Portia has an anger issue. I'm just like, you all exude the same behavior. And wouldn't you react the same way if somebody is antagonizing you? So I just never really, I never really bought that. I hated how all the women jumped on that, because I felt like it was alienating a certain type of attitude and behavior that is applied to Black women, when it's really, when we're not looking at the person who is doing the antagonizing, digging that sword into somebody's side to make them react a certain way. When they do react the way, it's just like, oh my goodness, this person has a problem. But it's just like, you're freaking stabbing me. What am I supposed to do? So I just never really liked this whole anger management issue that Portia has, when in all honesty, she was just really reacting to somebody who would, can I just say, I watched that reunion and I would have hit Kenya sooner. You know what I mean? I would have been hit her. She would have never got to pull the scepter into my face. So then we get a viewer question, which asked a very great question, because I was thinking that the whole season. And they basically asked, why doesn't Phaedra stick up for Portia, especially when the women are like dumping on her? And Phaedra's just like, well, you know, I'm a businesswoman. She always hides behind her being a lawyer, or her business, or her persona, instead of just owning up to the fact that, you know, Portia gets thrown under the bus and she takes a lot of hits for you, Phaedra, and you do not stick up for her. And I stand by what I said. I honestly think it's because Portia is more of a friend to Phaedra than Phaedra is to Portia. I feel like Portia was best friends with Candy, and Portia is kind of the rebound friend. So I don't think there's really a love there yet. I think there's a like. There's a strong like from Phaedra. There's a love from Portia. But I don't think that she's at that love stage of the friendship with Portia that she had with Candy. Because if anybody said anything about Candy in previous seasons, Phaedra would have been all over that person. And I get it, she's not that confrontational person, and she really doesn't get out of herself like that. The only time we've ever seen her get out of herself was when she was about to hit Kenya with that person. I was like, ooh, baby, we done got the Southern belle out of her southernness. So that was the only time that we've ever seen her get like that. So I agree, like, she's not that kind of person, but I have seen her stand up for Candy, and she did none of that for Portia. And that's really unfortunate. Baby, then we get into the anger management of the other housewives. I'm loving these viewer questions. They bring up Kenya and how she provokes people, and how that is that she needs to seek anger management about that, because she is verbally abusive. Thank you. This is what I've been saying the entire time. Everybody on this show has issues. Then somebody brings up Candy threatening bodily harm on cast members, and they're just like, why aren't you in anger management? Thank you, viewer questions. Although I think these viewer questions are just shady Andy trying to get in the little digs into the housewives. But I'm glad that it has been finally said to their faces, because they have all, aside from Cynthia and Sheree, kind of been verbally abusive and have threatened physical harm on other people. So they are all in that mix. So we can't just sit up here and say that Portia has an anger management problem with Candy. It's always threatening. We'll have 3'5" behind, threatening to drag a bee. Like, girl, I wish you would try it. So the episode basically ends with Candy and Portia just yelling over each other, and Andy trying to get focus back or get the room back, but he's very unsuccessful at it. And then they go into the previews for next week, which is probably where we should have started. No shade, I just feel like we did not need this filler episode of a reunion. We could have started at the next episode coming up, and maybe this reunion could have been 2, maybe 3. I don't think we needed a 4-part, but that's where it is. If you like what you see here, please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next week for part 2 of the Real Housewives of, what is this, LA? Is there a Real Housewives of LA? Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. Bye, guys.